men in the past have been conditioned to associate more of their worth to what they do, and women have over time more to their relationships. And I think it may even go beyond conditioning. The biochemistry is obviously very different. Every man and every woman has both male and female energy in them, so does every woman. But most people have a tendency to have one that's stronger. And so the answer to that is you have to become a creator instead of just a hunter. If you're a hunter and you get what you want, rarely are you happy anyway. That's what most men do. And what I think you have to do instead is attract what you want. And the way you attract what you want is not just thinking positively or thinking good thoughts. It's getting really specific about what it is you want, like anything in life. Almost anything you've ever achieved in your life, you got really clear. Something you got excited about, you got obsessed by, you thought about it. Almost everybody can relate to something I wanted so bad I couldn't stop thinking about it. And because you kept thinking about it, and if you didn't come to a place of fear, you hear things, you notice things, you started making distinctions, ideas came to you, put together a plan, you took some action, something didn't work, you tried something else. But you eventually got there because you were so driven, so hungry, and so clear. But if you got a general goal, like I want to have a relationship so that I can be worthwhile, or I want to lose some weight, I want to make some money, well fine, here's $1, fine, here's a guy, fine, lose a pound, and you just achieved your goal. So I think people have to get really specific. And what I did in my own life that transformed my own life was I sat down and I wrote down everything I could possibly want in a relationship. Everything. And I was ridiculous in the level of precision. I wrote like 6 pages. And I wrote spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, sense of humor, how we'd interact, what kind of things we'd laugh about and do. I mean, that level of insanity. And then, but some people made lists like that before. Then I went through and I crossed out everything that wasn't really a must. That wasn't really I was passionate about, right? And that trimmed the list down. Then I said, I'm going to read this every day, I'm going to feed my mind, but I got to understand something. Just because I want something, I'm not a believer. I didn't participate in The Secret for a very good reason, because I don't believe in The Secret. I think there's many secrets. And I believe law of attraction is one of them. I've taught it for years, but it isn't. To make it like that's all of life is absurd. If all you have to do is think positively and hold it clearly, and then the secret is you'll attract your own thoughts, there are dozens and dozens of the laws in life that are also equally important. And who's to say that you're supposed to think of something and get it? If everything you thought about you got, you'd be bored out of your mind. Plus, not getting what you want is sometimes the most valuable thing that could ever happen to you. Because out of that, you become deeper, richer, stronger. You open up in a different level. And now you have more to give to other people as well as to give to yourself. Somebody who says, I had a friend that was, I was mentioning this the other day, who when The Secret first came out, he's a good friend of mine, he goes, some of the stuff you teach is more complex. This is so simple. That's what I like. It's really simple. I said, well, if you want simple, just go do it. Tell me how it's working. He said, well, I focused on green lights all the way here, and I got green lights all the way here. And I said, what are you going to do when you get red lights? You going to blame yourself? You think I'm not thinking positively enough? I said, you're going to say, oh, I'm messed up? And I said, that's just stupid. I said, you know what it is? It's like, are you saying the people that were in Auschwitz were there because they just weren't thinking positive enough and they attracted all this negativity to their life? That's absurd. We all have different life paths and different stages of our path, and each stage opens up different possibilities for us. So I'm a big believer that you have to put yourself in a position where you decide not only what you want, but who do you have to become to attract that, not just think positive. So it's like, I made a list of all the things that, what kind of man would I have to be for a woman of that caliber to want to be with me, not just for a day, a week, a month, or a year, but the rest of my life. And that was the powerful list. And that's what I went to work on instead of going after the woman. Because, man chases women, women move. I was always the nice guy, so all women loved me, and I was a big pleaser, and they loved me for a while, and they'd be like, he's just so nice, and then some badass guy would get him, right? But when I owned myself, I didn't have to be a badass guy, and I wasn't a nice guy. Everyone wants to be pleased, but no one wants a pleaser, right? They might think they want him, but once they get him, they'll be bored silly with him. So when I owned myself, and I knew who I was as a man, and I had these qualities, then, attracting the woman of my dreams was my wife for 12 years now since, and I'm out of my mind for still, she's out of mind for me. That came about. So then all I did was read those every day for several months, and then gradually I started reading them like once every week or two. And I was in a train between, going to the Swiss Alps between Paris and Venice with my wife Sage, who was my girlfriend at the time, or actually one of my girlfriends at the time. And I was a very honest man about that. I said, I'm not looking to be tied down. I've been in that situation. And we were doing things, we were so in sync, and I said, wait a second. And I said, and I pulled out, I used to, have like a little time planner in those days, and I read it to her, and everything on the list I wanted, she was. Everything I didn't want, I listed what I didn't want also, I should mention that, because sometimes you get everything you want, and then you get a few things you don't want, and they mess up everything else. Everything I want, everything I didn't want that was a must. And she was everything on it. The kind of guy that I said that I would commit to being is who I was, and that's everything she wanted. talking about love and passion. Remember when we talked about this the other day? I said, think about a relationship where you have unbelievable love for this person and you constantly are starving, hungry for each other intimately as well. Make the sound of what that sounds like in your body when you have love and passion. Go nice and loud, come on. Oh, come on, has it been that long? Make the sound of a relationship where there's lots of love but not enough passion. Make that sound. See, when you talk about a relationship with love but not enough passion, it doesn't seem like that big a deal. But sound is a great way to calibrate what's really happening in your nervous system. What I found in my life for years, I had a relationship with someone who was a great lady, and we had tons of love, but very little passion, and I wanted more passion. But I didn't understand what the triggers were. I didn't understand the differences in values and rules. I didn't know how to shift anything. Nobody teach you this. And so I'd be in this experience where it's like, wow, you know, I remember being on stage vividly in a room that would have been my ultimate years before. It was at the Continental Center in New York City. There were 13,000 people in the room, 12,000 something hundred, almost 13,000 people. And I was doing my gig, and we were rocking. Like what we're doing here with 5,000, imagine 13,000. And we were going full tilt with a level of intensity. It was unbelievable, and people were out of their mind. And during one of the stretch breaks, one of my partners came up and told me my company had gone public that morning, and that's the morning where my stock alone was worth $400 million. So he's Tony, you just made $400 million this morning while you're doing what you love. I was like, shit, good morning. You know, it was a great morning. But you know what was interesting? It was really great. It was like, wow, that's wonderful. And then what I really want to do is get right back into what I loved. It didn't, like it was a cool thing, but it didn't change my life. But the biggest thing is the end of that night, I'm connecting people, high-fiving, signing, hugging people, and it's just a beautiful day. And I get home, and I'd made $400 million. I've been with almost 13,000 people. I'd done what I loved. I was on fire and alive, and I went home, and I was miserable. Because when I went home, the person I was with wanted me to be something different than what I was. Kind of like, that's why I understood Sarah May. Sarah May was trying to be something she thinks people want or people are expecting from her, but it's not her. So the person I was in a relationship with when she met me, is like, God, he's unbelievable. He's this powerful force of nature. He can shake a building with people and move people. And then it was like, why are you so fucking loud? I was like, loud? This is me. Right? And so what I learned to do was be something different that I really wasn't. And so when you're being something you're not, you're miserable. Who knows what I'm talking about here? Say I. And I'm such a lover. I love people. I never want somebody to not be happy. So I would always sacrifice everything to try to make somebody happy, but by not being who I was. There was nothing wrong with her. I was just miserable because I didn't understand the game. When I finally figured this process out, and by the way, guess how I did it? I interviewed people. I had a couple guy was 92, woman's 89, came to my Date with Destiny seminar, and these two were physically all over each other all the time. I mean, so much so it was like, get a room. I mean, this is hard to watch, right? And everybody in the whole seminar noticed it, so I finally brought them on stage and interviewed them. Shit, they're young punks in their 60s. So I bring this 92-year-old man, this 89-year-old woman up, and I said, I got to interview you guys. So I'm interviewing them. I said to him, I said, tell me something. I said, you two seem to not just love each other, you love each other. And they went, oh yeah. I mean, you're rather physical, aren't you? They said, oh yes, we love to be together. I said, and you guys have intimate relations? Oh yes, every day. Every day? Sometimes several times a day, the woman says. No exaggeration. And they were so adorable, and they were like all of each other, hugging each other, grabbing each other, touching each other. And I said to him, I said, okay, there are a lot of people that think when you're together 3, 4, 5, 10 years, there's nothing new. They said, nothing new. They just aren't being flexible enough. They're not trying new things. I said, well, tell me something. What's your belief about, how do you stay intimate? The woman says, well, you can't just talk. You got to touch. And she said, touch lots of things. And she's so adorable. And so I said, so you guys have this passion all the time? Yeah. And I said, what's your belief? And he said, well, we believe that it's never boring because we believe there's nothing ugly between two people who love each other, nothing dirty between two people who love each other. She said, yeah, here's our rule. We try anything once, and if we like it, we do it again. So I spent 5 years interviewing people who've been together 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and they don't just have love, they have passion. They're not hanging out, they love each other. And it changed the game for me. And the biggest change in my life, I would give up everything in my life without no exaggeration, no hyperbole, everything I've ever learned, everything I've ever done for the relationship I have with my sage. She has been I'd die for this woman, no exaggeration, but I couldn't have gotten to that place if I hadn't been through all those other places first. And the gift that I've got in that area is a gift you deserve. And anybody can have it. You could be with somebody together for 10 years and you could reignite it because you just didn't know the triggers. Or some of you may find that you're in a relationship where truthfully you are nothing in common. You're just scared shitless to end it because you're afraid of being alone. But there's a way to do this in a way where things can be elegant, but you can be free and you can bring to your life what you deserve. I tell people one thing. If you're not happy in your intimate relationship, you're not fucking happy. Because I don't give a shit how hard you work. I don't care how much money you make, how many trophies you get. In the end, if you don't have that aliveness and passion, a part of you is dead inside. And it doesn't have to be that way. And I gotta tell you something. Some of you maybe seen some of the films of the people I've turned around who hate each other, want to kill each other, been together forever, have no attraction. And we don't just change them in that moment. We follow up. You see them a year later, 2 years later, 5 years later. They never go back because we rewire it. And Date with Destiny. Oh, I got some people who graduate Date with Destiny. Wow, some grads of Date with Destiny here. Date with Destiny is that program I described this morning when I was talking about Dickens and I talked about going to Fiji and I had that process of coming up with that process. Well, I turned that into a 5.5 day process that what Date with Destiny does is it basically, we worked our tail off here. You gotta use a lot of physical energy to deal with your beliefs. Your values, you'll never get through with physical energy. You have to know, it's almost like a puzzle. You have to know exactly what thing triggers what feeling, triggers what emotion. And until you know that, you're at the effect of everything in your life. What Date with Destiny does is it helps you get a plan for your life. Not a plan like scribbling it out, I have to live a certain way, but you begin to see how to take the different parts of you that have inner conflicts and align those parts so you're pulled exactly where you want to go. It is by far the most powerful thing I do, bar none. And the experience in those 5.5 days is like nothing you've experienced in your life because you're going to discover and basically learn how to trigger everything that controls every thought, every feeling, emotion in your life. And after about 4.5 days of doing this, where you now have complete mastery over your own life, then we bring in intimate relationship into it. Because what happens is, you get somebody that really has problems and they put them with somebody else who loves them who also have problems, you got big problems. Once you got yourself wired, now you can figure out how to create a relationship at the level you want. So, here's what I want you to know. How many of you would like to go to the next level of this process? Say aye. Then you got to deal with the two issues that always show up, time and money. Here's what I'll do. I'll handle the money side from my guarantee. You can go to anything I teach, half of it, if in your judgment it isn't the best frickin' thing you've ever done in your life, so you don't have to wonder, like, is this weekend the most he can do? This is nothing compared to where we're going. But you be the judge. You can get it all back. So you can go home if you decide to do this and tell somebody, I'm going to steal from him. I'm going to go half the program and take it all for free. You won't. It'll transform you. So that's number one. So you don't have to have any fear or wondering, is it worth it to you, or am I taking a financial risk? Zero financial risk. But you're going to have to come up with figuring out how to change and get through the time. School teachers, owners of businesses, whatever. But what I'll tell you is, it'll transform your life. This is the time you make an investment in yourself that'll go beyond anything you can imagine. Let me tell you about Date with Destiny. Here's what I'll tell you. Go. Go. Trust. If you trust me at all, if I did not betray your trust here, tell you, go.